Hey bread friends, how are you? Oh my goodness. This is my first video in a little bit because for the first time since September of 2019, we got to go on what was a sort of a vacation. We went to Arizona, Lake Havasu area to visit friends, and then from there drove to Las Vegas, which is about a 2-hour drive, and we went to those friends' son's wedding, and we were with our friends who have become family there, and the wedding was at this amazingly crazy venue. You got to Google Meow Wolf Omega Mart in Las Vegas. It's an immersive art museum. It's a psychedelic wonderland, and it was just crazy and fun. So anyway, that's just what we did. The wedding was really fun. The wedding couple, the bridal couple, were dressed a little differently than most couples dress, and it was only about 30 people. It was really a good time, and I feel so refreshed to have, been away for about 5 days. It was really good for me. So, but I'm back. I'm going to be baking for you, and that's what's going on. But I wanted to talk the subject of this video, and the reason I'm not in my kitchen, it'll just be talking, and I hope I don't talk too long because that gets really boring. So the subject is, why do some people have and use multiple bread machines? And I think it probably varies from person to person, but I will tell you why I like having my 3 Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus machines. What happened was I had a Supreme, a home bakery Supreme. I used it for, 18, 19, 20 years. I wasn't careful with the bread pan, and I immersed it in water for all those times, and eventually the bearings froze and the paddles would no longer turn. So in summer of 2018, I went through Consumer Reports. I'd done it before before I bought the Supreme. I went through Consumer Reports again. I'm in my backyard, so if like a squirrel, but there's not a squirrel, but like if I see a bug or something, I'm like, is it a bee? Because I'm terrified of bees. Anyway, so that's when I bought a Virtuoso Plus. So then my dad calls me and he says, Ellen, I found an old bread machine in the garage that we forgot we had. Do you want me to bring it over and you can play with it? Sure, Dad. So it was an old Oster. I cleaned it up and I used it. It does not have, or did not have, the rest or preheat cycle on it, and it was a vertical machine, and it started walking off my counter. So for all those various reasons of, it just was inferior. I didn't like it. I couldn't stand it. And I kept saying to my husband, it's so nice to have 2 bread machines because I can make 2 batches of dough or 2 loaves at once. But the Oster just sucks. I really would just like another one of the same Zojirushis. But I didn't really plan on buying one. I just kind of kept saying it's really nice to have 2 bread machines, but I'd like them both to be the same. And the newer, nicer one. So 6 months later, it was Hanukkah, and my husband got me another Zovirtuoso Plus. And I was like, yay, I've got 2. And I started using 2 at a time, baking 2 recipes of dough or 2 loaves of bread or whatever I wanted to do. And it was wonderful. And I thought, sure would be nice to have a 3rd. So I every day checked Amazon for the price, every day. And finally I think I ended up getting it 20% off at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I think I got it for like $272. So I bought the 3rd. So basically, sometimes I make 3 identical recipes, and sometimes I make 3 different ones. The other day when we came home from vacation, I looked in my freezer, and there was 1 slice of rye bread. That better not be a Japanese beetle. I hate those things. No, it's not. 1 slice of rye bread and 1 slice of my Asian-inspired sesame bread. I'm like, oh crap, we have nothing for toast but 2 little slices of bread. So we got home Friday, and on Saturday I'm baking. So I made rye bread because rye bread is one of our go-tos, and I made challah. That was my husband's request. And then I did a little experiment, which I can't share about yet because I'm still perfecting it, and then I'll make a video. So it's just an efficiency thing for me. I can get 3 done in one morning with one mess, or one day with one mess. The week before, when I knew I was going first to Arizona and then to Las Vegas, I had 4 households that I wanted to deliver bread to, and some of them multiple. So I took requests, I had a list, and in one day with 3 bread machines, I baked 2 loaves of cinnamon raisin, 1 batch of cinnamon rolls, and then I washed all the bread pans and started again. 2 loaves of my Asian-inspired black rice and sesame bread, and 1 loaf of Michelle Rose's Italian bread, but with herbs in it, Italian herbs. So yes, I baked all day. Yes, I was exhausted. Yes, it was a lot of work and a lot of timers and a lot of running back and forth to the kitchen, but I got 6 recipes of dough for different things made in one day. Now, if you only have 1 bread machine, you couldn't, I don't think you could even do that in 24 hours. So and then all of those things that I made for my family and friends that I was going to see in Arizona, it all went in the freezer. I did it maybe 4 or 5 days before we were leaving. It all went in the freezer, and then we packed up a cooler with lots of ice, and they were still frozen when we got there, and they got all delivered, and everybody got homemade bread from me. I'm kind of known for that. So really, am I known for that? So for me, it's do it all at once, one mess, all the ingredients stay out. I don't have to, all my little bowls and little ramekins that I use for measuring. After I measure the first, I just put it back. Like if it's my big canister of sugar, I put whatever the little ramekin is that I use for measuring the sugar. The bowl for the flour goes on top of my flour canister. The little rubber ramekin, or silicone probably, that I use for my salt, I stick on the salt, and I just use them over and over again. So for me, it's about doing mass quantities all at once, one mess, getting out ingredients one time. I mean, sometimes the ingredients vary, but you're going to have your basics, your flour, salt, sugar, yeast, all of that. So when I use multiple bread machines, it's because I want to do a lot at one time, and then I put them away, and I might not bake for several days to a week because I get it all done at once. By the way, I'm also working on a little mini video about frozen bread and how to defrost it, and that it's just as good when you freeze it. Some people are like, I don't like frozen bread, and I'm sorry. It's exactly the same when you defrost it. Oh, sorry. That noise is the air conditioning that just came on. I'm sitting on my patio, obviously. So that's why I use multiple bread machines. Now, a lot of people have more than one bread machine, but they have different ones. They might have some 2 pounds, some 1 pound. They might have gone to thrift stores or garage sales and gotten one here, one there, one here, and they're all different. I couldn't stand that. That would drive me nuts because I'm assembly line. I have my 3 bread pans, and I don't want to have to think about, for this bread machine, I need to do it this way. And for this bread machine, I need to do it this way. And for the bread machine, I need to do it this way. I don't want to do that. It's the same as, I don't want a machine that doesn't preheat my ingredients, because I don't want to have to think about warming my liquids or softening butter or letting eggs come to room temperature. That's a pain in the behind. Why would you do that? So that's another reason why I love my Zoes. They have the rest or preheat cycle at the beginning that brings your ingredients to optimal temperature. Anyway, I'm off subject. The reason I did this video was to tell you about using multiple bread machines and why I do it. Now, if you ask somebody else who has multiple bread machines, maybe they have a whole different reason. I don't know, but this is just what I do. Okay, we're just under 10 minutes. I don't want to go any longer than that. Have a great day. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Bye-bye. Turning it off. So I'm back in my living room, and I just realized I wanted to say that when I do use all 3 bread machines at once, I can't look at the camera. Can't figure out where to look. When I do use multiple bread machines, I'm very careful. I have to stagger when they start, when I start them, because if I'm just using dough course and taking the bread out and just popping it into a loaf pan, then it doesn't take, anything but a minute. But if I'm going to have to roll things out and shape it a certain way, that takes longer. So I would start a loaf first because that's a quick transition from dough, to rising. But if I'm going to roll out, then I have to make sure that I have left enough time to roll out, and also that I have enough ovens to do my final rise and baking. So you have to be organized and think things through. So that was the little postscript that I wanted to add.